Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated, where I'm so excited today. I'm talking with actress Catherine Mary Stewart. So, welcome, Catherine.
Hi, pleasure to be here. Fun stuff.
This is such a big deal for me. I'll tell you, this is how long I've been a fan because I don't think you get, I know you do podcasts and interviews, but I'm betting you don't get asked about this one too much. So, the first time that I remember seeing you on camera was you were playing like a salesperson on Nighthawks.
Very good eye.
Yep.
Yes. Well, yeah, that was like the second job or maybe the third job I ever had. And I was living in London at the time, and I auditioned for Sylvester Stallone, which was
Yeah.
very exciting. All us girls who were auditioning were like, "Oh, it's Sylvester!" So that was super fun when I got. I mean, a really, really small role,
Yeah.
but really fun. And
Well, what a
yeah,
cast.
uh, working with Rutger Hauer. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really the only person I worked with, but he scared the crap out of
He's a
me.
scary guy.
He is so scary. Because he was in character, and I was like, very, very green and really shy and nervous about doing this whole thing. And he's an assassin basically, or he's a
Yeah.
terrorist. I guess well, who knows, a terrorist assassin,
He was a
um,
bad dude.
it was a bad dude. And he comes up and he kind of sweet talks me as I'm standing behind this counter. And as he's sweet talking me, he's shoving a bomb under my counter. But
Come
he
on,
just was
Rucker.
like, honestly, he just was like, he gave me the creeps.
Yeah.
And because he was so into his character. And even when we weren't shooting the scene, he was just like, and I thought, he doesn't like me at all. But it was just, I mean, he's such a brilliant actor. He was such, like,
Yeah.
he passed away not too long ago,
I know.
sadly. But
I've always regretted that I didn't get to meet him in person. I bet you he's like a teddy bear in person, though.
probably, I bet
Yeah.
he is. He
Yeah.
probably
Or
is. But
was.
like, so many actors have this sort of stigma about them that people think is kind of scary. I worked with Charles Bronson, as a for
Oh,
instance.
yeah.
He always had this kind of image of being the tough guy and not being easy to talk to, and he was just the sweetest, most gentle man. It was funny. Yeah, um, I was doing this movie with him, and we all sat down for sort of an introductory dinner, and he was sort of, nobody would really sit next to him. And I thought,
What's
oh,
Charles
okay,
Bronson?
his seat was open, and um, so I just decided to sit down. I thought, oh, it doesn't intimidate me. And the thing about him was he was very quiet,
Yeah.
sort of in a kind of a smoldering way, but so sweet and kind of very soft spoken, especially when this was, well, it was like 1993. And then, he wasn't old, but he was getting older. He wasn't still in that super tough guy
Right.
stage.
Right.
But we got along so well, and we stayed really good friends until he passed away. And he and my husband, I was living in LA at that time, and they used to go and play golf together all the time, and we became very close with
Oh, that's
Charles.
great.
But yeah, yeah, he was just that's who came to mind when I was thinking of the real tough guy image. But underneath it, it
He
turned
had
out that
such a long career. I mean, he was doing westerns in like the 50s and 60s. You
yeah.
know?
Oh yeah, he was around for a long, long time, and yeah, he had that sort of image down. What was it? Wasn't it in the Golden Girls? The mother, the oldest one in the Golden Girls, the mother of one of them was like, Charles Bronson, he's my hero. Charles Bronson was so sexy. Do
Yeah,
you remember that
was
show?
she? Yeah, oh yeah, was she Blanche's mom?
Um,
Or was she who was the
oh,
I've lost the names.
yeah, me too. I forget. It's
I
been a
know it's
while.
B.
But in
Arthur,
fact,
was B. Arthur the?
maybe it was B. Arthur's mother. I
I
actually don't
forgot.
remember. I don't remember either.
That's such a great show.
That's such a great show. And the funny thing is about the person, the actress who played the mother was actually the same age as all the other ones, or maybe even a little bit younger.
Yeah.
But she played that character so well that they did her up, man. And she's little and cranky and ornery. It was fun.
That
Anyway,
show was ahead of its time because it was basically an all female cast, and there really
mhm.
wasn't anything else like it at that time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now, thankfully, they're diversifying a little bit, and that's not as unusual. But back then, that was a
Yeah.
little different. A
Yep.
little different. So okay,
Yep.
so I jumped ahead because I wanted to get Nighthawks in. Which Nighthawks, by the way, Billy D. Williams, Lindsay Wagner, pretty
Right.
pretty great
It
cast.
it
Pretty
was
great.
an incredible cast. Yeah, it was a great movie too. It was a really
Yeah.
fun movie.
Yes.
But again, I was in that little itty bitty part, and I was living in London where they shot it at this department store. I forget what it was called now, and I just noticed when I finally saw the movie, that was not my voice coming out of my mouth. I
What?
think what happened was, yeah, I think they had to, dub it for whatever reason because
Yeah.
of a sound issue or whatever. And I swear to you, I listened to it and I feel like it's such a horrible English accent because I'm supposed to have an English accent. But at the time I was living there and I have a really good ear for accents. And I was like,
Yeah.
that is not me. So they hired somebody in LA. That's my theory anyway.
See, you should have just claimed it and just told people, yeah, I'm just that good an actress.
Yeah, but I didn't like the accent, so it was like, oh no.
Well, yeah, I guess if you didn't like it, that wouldn't.
No, because I was using an English accent when I was on the set, but there must have been some sound problems or something. At any rate, I refuse
So,
to believe that that's me.
yeah, well, it's probably not. They probably did dub it in. They
It's
probably did.
most likely thing.
So the other kind of obscure role that I remember you in was, I'm a big frustrated George Martin fan, and you got to do Night Flyers,
Ah, that's
like the original.
correct. Everything I do has a night in it.
I know, it all does.
Yeah, they did a movie based on his novella.
Yeah,
And that was an interesting experience. Plus, the casting was fantastic. I mean, it's a terrific cast,
yeah.
but it doesn't really correspond with the casting in the characters in the novella, which is sort of interesting. And I guess was it Netflix that did the series most recently?
It was sci-fi, I think.
Oh, okay, sci-fi. They cast it more true to what the novella asked for, but because I was supposed to be this tall Amazon woman, and anyway, it was kind of an interesting role because she from the character breakdown that I received for the movie, she was kind of half robot, half human, that
Yeah,
kind of element. So I had to somehow incorporate that almost like a Spock-like character, I guess is how I felt. But the cat. Speaking of casts, the cast in this was just incredible. I mean, it was just such a wonderful group of people.
yeah,
James Avery,
yeah.
Lisa Blount, John Standing, Michael Pare, Michael Pare, Michael Prade, excuse me,
Yeah.
and Michael DeBar, and all these wonderful.
It had it had all the '80s people.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it was a good
terrific,
cast.
really good cast. The issue with that one was that they hadn't really written an ending on in the script as we were shooting, so
That
we're
could be a
sort of like,
problem.
it was kind of a problem. So if it feels like the ending was like, oh, what happened? What happens to them? Because we're sort of sitting there floating out there in a pod, and Michael Praed's character, his lifeline is the ship itself. So it was interesting. It was a little problematic on that set, I have to say, but it was kind of an interesting concept. Some people really dig it.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the remake was pretty good as well, but it wasn't. Yeah, I still don't think they captured the novel quite right, and it's hard. That's a hard thing to do. But
Yeah, it was a hard subject matter. It was a hard thing to attack. I was very hopeful with this series, and I
yeah,
watched it, and I was a little disappointed. But you know, all you can do is all you can do.
see, that's what would have helped is they could have contacted you and had you make a little cameo,
Hello.
right?
You know, I actually think I tried to contact George R. R. Martin on Facebook or something. Hey, I was in the original movie. You got
Yeah, I
any
mean, come
roles for
on.
me?
I mean, fans love that stuff.
I know, I know.
Huh?
I didn't.
Did you get to meet George?
No, nope.
Yeah,
And it was way before like Game of Thrones and all that stuff.
yeah.
You know, he wasn't very well known at that point. So yeah, I don't know where he even was then.
I'd
We
have
never.
some tough questions for George. He's he is frustrating us with his length of time on this new book.
Oh, right. Yeah. Wow.
It's been like a decade, George. Come on.
Yeah, come on, let's get on it. Well, it's not like he's you know, has to write a book to make some money or anything like
No,
that.
no.
I'm
He,
not sure what the motivation is, but yeah,
I think that would be
gosh.
so tough because he had this just, I started reading those books when he first started putting them out in the 90s. And it was just such an incredible series. And then they threw all this money at him.
Yep.
I mean, who wouldn't do that? And they actually did a really good job adapting the parts that he wrote. I think they struggled once they got past him.
Uh-huh.
But he probably had no idea that he wouldn't be able to finish before the show finished. I think that had to be a tough situation and frustrating for him too. But
Hmm.
it was difficult as fans. To
Yeah.
Once the series got past the books, we're like, oh no.
Yeah. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Oh no. So okay, so I jumped ahead, but so I always like to start, by asking how you got into entertainment and what made you want to become an actor.
Yes, well, let's see. I started out really as a dancer. I mean, and professionally at any rate. I've really been involved with sort of performing my whole life,
Yeah.
from starting dance at a very early age to, you know, taking acting classes. And and then I got into dance seriously when I started like when I was 14, getting into it very seriously. I was in a dance company when I was 16,
Oh,
and
yeah.
we were performing all over the place, as a
Did you do all
company.
the dance?
What do you mean all the
Like
just
all
different
the
kinds
different
of
types? Yeah.
dances? Well, I was primarily ballet, but primarily jazz, but I also
Oh,
had some background in
yeah.
ballet. So we did a lot of shows that were sort of, you know, musical theater themed,
Yeah.
like a chorus line and things like that. Um, so a lot of time on stage, and also a lot of school plays and things like that. And I also took singing lessons. And when I graduated from high school, I moved to London and studied at a school called the London Studio Centre,
Yeah.
which was a performing art school. You know, my focus was dance, and that involved every kind of dance, including tap and Spanish and, well, any kind of dance you could think of. Um, and but also they, you know, took acting classes, and again singing, and um, uh, dialects, and everything that
Yeah.
you can imagine to really create a really wonderful foundation for performing. So that was sort of my trajectory. I
Yeah.
imagined myself eventually going back to my hometown of Edmonton, and I don't know what I would be doing, but probably teaching or creating a company myself in dance. But that's where I landed a role in a movie, called The Apple. I auditioned. I happened to
Right.
go to this cattle call audition in London as a dancer because it was a rock musical. I had no intention of. Literally, I just went to sort of have the experience of
Right.
auditioning in that setting, And the director kind of pulled me out of this cattle. There must have been 200
Wow.
dancers there. And he pulled me out and asked me if I could act. And I said, yes. Can you sing? Yes. So I auditioned for them, and I ended up with the lead role in this movie. So it was kind of like, you know, it wasn't entirely intentional on my
Yeah.
part to become an actress like that, but it sort of threw me into the deep end. And I guess I really haven't looked back ever since.
No, no, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I
Mhm.
thought you were a dancer. My oldest was a dancer while she was growing up, and
Uh-huh.
that was kind of how it went. You know, you had a, you know, she had the what she kind of specialized in, but she did all the dances. You know, they
Right.
kind of same,
All
and then
the
she did, you know, went through the competitions and dance
Oh,
team
nice.
and all that
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
And I loved it. I loved going, but it's intense.
Very
That
intense.
yeah, it's as intense or more as, you know, someone doing a sport.
Oh, yeah. But you know what I found was it really set me up for what I for my future, sort of
Yeah,
like I said, being thrown into the acting business in front of the camera, into the deep end. Dance is so disciplined. It
right.
really it prepares you for almost anything in life, as does sports also. But I
Yeah,
mean, dance is it's a lot of work, and you have to have a lot of dedication. It's not only physically grueling, but mentally grueling. And when you're competing like your daughter did in like group dances and whatnot, you have to
yeah,
be just spot on, you know,
right.
completely coordinated with the other dancers. um, and the rehearsal until you get it perfect. It really does, it
It's
prepares
a
you.
lot.
It's a lot, but boy, you can do anything after that.
Yeah. Do you still dance?
No, no, not really. I mean, I do like my exercise regime is kind of dance based, but I also do dance slash yoga. You know, I do a lot of
Yeah.
stretching and a lot of yoga y stuff, and then I'll do like some kind of power walking sprint junk. Um, which I really, really like. I mean, I'm still pretty flexible, but I could never, I like my knees are blown and all that stuff. I could never actually get
We
up
all
there
have
and,
that problem.
yeah, you know, your body's just like, yeah, how old are you now? I'm sorry, you don't
Yeah,
do that
you're
anymore.
done. Yeah, you're done dancing.
Grand plie? No, no,
Did
you're not gonna do it.
the discipline that you learned with dance, did that help you once you got say on the soap opera? Because that's something where you have to. I mean, it's you know, it's pretty intense, and you're constantly learning lines, you know, day after
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, yeah, well, to a certain degree, but then that's a whole other beast as well as just the memorizing words. I've always kind of found that challenging. I'm not one of these people that can sort of look at it and go, "Oh, I got this." It's like
Yeah,
it's hard for me to find the balance between overstudying and understudying um, dialogue.
yeah,
So the soap opera was, I found it very
yeah,
challenging
yeah.
because
I would think that would be a really. I mean, if you can survive it, it would have to make other acting jobs easier. I would think.
yeah, well, it there's certainly a lot less pressure when you go
Yeah.
and do like Days of Our Lives, for instance, was an hour show, which we shot in one day.
Right.
Um, and if you had a heavy storyline, you know, you were featured a lot, you could have, I mean, it's an hour show, so it's approximately 100 pages. If you are being featured in a storyline, you might have 50 pages of dialogue. And it's
Yeah.
holy
That's a
moly.
lot.
If you shoot an hour and a half movie, it might be 2 months of shooting, or you shoot like a couple of pages a day or something
Right.
like that.
Right.
You know, it's a whole different animal. So, yeah, soap operas are very difficult. I, but of course, so many actors are on these things for years and years and
Yeah.
years and years and years, and I think they just get right into the groove. I mean, after a while, you know your character so well. It's like you get a script and you just kind of slide into it, I think.
Yeah.
I never felt that slide when I was on Days of Our Lives. Never quite got a grasp.
But you were on there for a while.
I was on for a couple of years. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Did they continue the character after you left?
They did. I left,
Yeah.
and there was definitely a gap. But then they did recast it because she was a popular character, and also the family was very popular, the Brady family.
Yeah.
So they did recast her, and I'm trying to remember. I think
How dare
the lady, I know, the actor's name is Mary Beth Evans, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
Another three-namer. But I was busy by that time. I was doing a lot of other stuff. So.
Yeah.
I think actually they did ask me if I wanted to come back, but at that point I was, no.
Yeah. Well, and back then, there wasn't. I mean, we had cable, but it wasn't like today. You still only had just a limited amount of channels, so daytime soaps was a big deal. I mean, it's much bigger, I think, back then than what the ones that are still on now are, because it had just huge audiences. So
huge.
I just remember, as I was growing up, if the TV was on during the day, it was on a soap opera. Usually Days of Our Lives. That was one. Maybe General Hospital, but Days of Our Lives.
Yeah. And there were lots and
As
lots
the World
of them.
Turns was another one.
Yeah, okay. There were so many soap operas in those days because they were so popular. I mean, they really did fill up the daytime slots for sure. But not so many surviving. I mean, Days of Our Lives is hanging in there. I don't follow it very closely anymore.
No,
but
there's a few still out there.
There's not too many. General Hospital might still be on.
I'm sure it's still on, but yeah, it's
actually, I just thought of this. One of my first jobs in LA was as an extra on The Young and the Restless.
Really?
Yes. Little did I know I was going to be on one of these things. But yeah, it was really fun. I mean, being an extra is a fantastic job. You just sit there and you don't have to do anything or sing anything.
Yeah, that's pretty good. You get fed and you're just kind of hanging out. That's not bad. You get paid.
You get paid. Yep.
Yeah, that's not terrible. So if I remember right, you were still doing days when you got the role in Last Starfighter.
Yes, that's right. While I was on days, I was still auditioning for other things, just in case of emergency, I guess. But yeah, there was so much going on at that time. And I fit into a real nice little slot in terms of what they were looking for actors. So yes, I auditioned for The Last Starfighter while I was still on Days of Our Lives. And in fact, I was cast in The Last Starfighter while I was still on Days of Our Lives. And there were a couple of days there where I worked on both.
Yeah, that's a hard day.
That was a long day.
Yeah, that's a hard day.
Yeah. But
so we got to talk to Lance a week or two ago, and which was terrific, and he was great. He speaks so highly of you. He just that's why he's like you were the best to work with, the best to hang out with. Everything good with you from Lance. I thought that was pretty great.
I feel absolutely the same way about him. I adore Lance.
Yeah.
And his wife and his son are just they're some of my favorite people on the planet. Like I said to you earlier, whenever I go out to LA, they always invite me over for a home cooked meal. Usually when I go to LA, I'm by myself. I'm married. My husband he comes to visit and stuff in LA when I'm there, but he spends most of the time here. And when you're by yourself in some Airbnb or something like that, I mean, cooking isn't sort of your priority.
That's right.
I guess I'll have almonds tonight or something like that. And so it's always a highlight of my visit to LA, because they always cook just an amazing leg of lamb or some amazing, I don't know, I can't even think, and a great bottle of wine. He's really into wine. So it's always a huge treat. And we've just, he and I have stayed friends there was a gap between the last. This is kind of an interesting story, actually. I hadn't seen him for maybe 10 years or something like that, and I was now in New York, living on the Upper West Side, and one day we get the call from the doorman, a call from the doorman saying, "Yeah, there's somebody down here who knows you," and I guess the doorman recognized Lance, and he's like, "Oh man, I love the movie The Last Starfighter. Catherine Mary Stewart lives here," and he's like, "What?" And it was the weirdest coincidence that his
That's great.
wife's a relative of his wife's lived in our building, and they were visiting her, and and the doorman knew The Last Starfighter, knew both of us were in it, and so he shows up at the door with his little baby and his wife, and it's like, oh my god! So that sort of reignited our relationship. It was fantastic. And then he's been out to New York. He spent a few years out here, doing theater. You know, he was on Broadway for a
Oh, that's
while, and
great.
so we were in touch then as well. I mean, yeah, he's the best. He's the best guy ever.
Yeah, yeah, he was terrific. He was terrific. I always remember your movies. So my high school girlfriend, she kept her favorite book was called A Little Affair, and it was made into a movie at one point too. But she would, back then, when you're in middle school, early high school, when you're not driving, a lot of your dates are at the movies. So we're going to the movies like every week. Well,
Okay.
she would keep the tickets in a chapter on that book, right?
Oh,
and at
nice.
some point, maybe when we graduated high school, she gave me that book, and I've still got the book with the tickets in there. So I was
Oh,
flipping
that's
through
so
that the other
sweet.
day. I know it's so nice. It's so nice. But I was flipping through, and there's so many of your movies that are in there. Mischief's in there, Last Starfighter, Night of the Comet. There's so many. I was like, oh, this is pretty great. This is pretty great.
That's
So I know.
amazing.
So you were such a
Wowee.
big part of my, high school, middle school dating life.
Oh, I love it. Well, wow, I feel so honored. Now you're in West Virginia, are
I
you?
am.
Is
Yep.
that where you went to high school?
It is. Yeah, I've been here my entire life, and
Mhm.
lucky enough to meet my wife and have our kids are all still here. Now I've got grandkids here. Our parents are still here. It's pretty. We travel, but
Uh-huh.
this is where the roots are, which is kind of
That's
rare that we've
it is
kind
rare
of
nowadays, yeah.
we've made some choices to stay here where we've had some opportunities to move in other places, but it's been
Well,
pretty good. I was going to ask you, you're pretty good with accents. Can you do a West Virginia accent?
well, here's the thing about that now is that my husband's from Virginia,
Oh well,
and
yeah, okay,
he also has a really good ear. I mean,
yeah.
crazy good ear. He's not in the business at all, but he can recognize accents from different communities. Like
Oh yeah,
In Virginia, he grew up in Newport News, Virginia, and
oh yeah. That's
oh,
right by Virginia Beach, right there.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you know what? I'm a little bit afraid to do it because he's like Mr. Critique. I did a few episodes of Guiding Light, and I was supposed to be sort of this southern sort of, I don't know, sort of sneaky kind of bad girl person, and they never got specific about the accent, so I just sort of did this general kind of southern accent, and it was, and I think I sort of probably slipped into some texts in there, but growing up, but knowing my husband's parents and whatnot, throwing in little sayings like his butter must have slipped off his biscuit, things like that. Oh yeah, I got lots of really good little
Oh no.
dialogue from them. But yeah, but honestly, it was just sort of a general Southern, which I'm sure many Southerners would be offended
That's
by. But
hilarious.
They didn't get specific, so I just went for it.
Yeah, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. How long have you two been together?
We are about to celebrate our 29th wedding anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So, and we were together for about a year before we got married.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, yeah, it's coming up.
That's pretty great.
The official day is May 13th.
Oh.
And then we went over to, gosh, that's Thursday.
Yeah, that's coming up like fast.
Gulp. I know. I know that because I have a doctor's appointment on Thursday and it's May 13th. But we got married in France on the Côte d'Azur in France. But we sort of made it official in New York first, just to make sure it was real. And then we had a little celebration there as well. June 6th.
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Yeah.
It's very romantic getting married.
It's so romantic. It's on a boat. We hired a boat. We went out into, the Mediterranean.
Have you been back since?
I don't think I have. Oh, yes. No, of course I have. Because my daughter, I don't think I've been to the Côte d'Azur, but I've been to Paris since. And my daughter, she spent a semester abroad in Paris because one of her majors was French. So she was over there for, 6 months or whatever it is. And we went over to visit her then. And, I just love Paris so much. So beautiful.
Yeah, that's terrific. That's terrific.
Yeah.
So Lance says that he was working on a sequel to Last Starfighter, and we keep hearing rumors. What is holding that up?
I don't know. I mean, it's funny because, of course, the story leaves it wide open for a sequel.
It does.
And Lance used to hint years ago. He was hinting about, I wrote a script for myself for this. And then about 15 years ago, Nick Castle, the director, we all had lunch, and he was like, "Okay, this is my idea for a sequel." But the whole thing was that I guess Universal owned the property, and Jonathan Betchell, the original writer, he couldn't regain ownership of it until 30 years after it had been released.
Right. So
finally he did. And apparently they have been. I mean, it's been announced publicly. Nick Castle again has publicly announced it, at conventions and things. But the last I heard was that they're just kind of shopping it around, but they seem to have, the little bits and pieces that I've seen, they seem to have a comprehensive idea of what it is they want to do.
That has to be an easy shop. It was such a cult classic.
You would think.
I watched it. It's been a month or two ago, but it still holds up pretty well. I mean, obviously you're playing the stand-up video games and things. You could adjust that for now, or you could just do the movie, back in that time period, and it'd be fine.
Well, I mean, if it was a remake, yes, but it's a sequel. So I think the idea is that we'll be sort of the parents of the next generation. So it will be in the future. It'll be set in the future. And I have a feeling the special effects will be a lot more sophisticated in the sequel.
Well, as long as you and Lance have a part in it, I'm good.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I would apparently that's the thought. They don't really keep us up to date on that, day to day, and I think Lance is a little more, I think he even said that he's a little more connected with all those guys, but I guess if anything happens, they'll let us know.
Yeah. We're crossing our fingers.
I know, me too. It would be so much fun.
It's such a fun movie.
It was a fun movie to do. It was a real labor of love. I think that comes across in the movie. I think the message of the movie is wonderful. I think the characters are accessible for kids, people compare it to, Star Wars was out at that time. It's different in that the characters are identifiable. You can relate to them. You can say, that guy is just like me. You mean I could do that, or that girl, or whatever.
That could happen,
right? What the heck? Why not?
How did you avoid all of the dance movies in the 80s. With your dance background, you'd have been perfect.
I know. Well, I auditioned for a few of them. I don't know.
No,
I,
no Footloose or Breakin'.
yeah, yeah, no, I did audition for some of them, but I just never got cast. I mean, they were looking for a different type, I guess. So, but I do remember doing some dance auditions for different things. But yeah, nothing nothing hit home.
Terrible. I don't know who I
I
need to fuss at, but terrible.
I know. I'm gonna get your phone number and send it out
That's
to
right.
some
You let me
people and
know.
say,
I'll take care of it.
email. But I can't complain. I was kept very busy.
So I watched Night of the Comet yesterday because
Hmm.
I knew you were coming on. So I watched it yesterday. It's one that definitely needs a remake
Yeah,
because it holds up pretty good, but it's definitely an 80s movie. So I think
it's
we could bring that one forward. But it's such a fun movie too, and you were so great in it.
yeah, that was a fun movie to do as well. And what I really liked about the Comet was Reg, my character, was a real departure from kind of the girl next door
Yes,
sort of that you see on
she's
um,
tough.
Days of Our Lives and
Yeah,
The Last Starfighter. Um, yeah, she's tough, and it's so much fun, wielding these Mac 10s and shooting things up. But it's such a I also like it because I feel like it's kind of a unique idea in that it's
yeah.
it's kind of like a zombie movie and it's the end of the world and everything, but the approach is like, as opposed to everybody running around being really scared of zombies and everything, these two teenage girls are like, so what do we do now? We go shopping.
Yeah,
It's like
right.
they weren't really troubled by the fact that their
No, they just
parents
kind of
were
went with it.
probably dead. The worst part was that Sam's character, Kelly Maroney, it's like the one boy that she liked in high school. Well, she'll never get to date him
No,
now.
no, that's not happening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love the concept. I love the concept.
No, when I saw it at the time, I absolutely loved it. I'm a nerdy guy, and it was different. It was a zombie movie, but it was a different zombie movie, and just the
Right.
whole, it's some of the effects at the time were just I thought were a lot of fun. The way they showed the cities and different things. I just loved it. You had
Hmm.
everybody wearing the sunglasses, and some of
Hmm.
the
Hmm.
outfits were pretty hilarious. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was very, very 80s, but it really was super fun to do. And again, a great group of actors. But uh, I actually, we were talking about this. I don't think you were recording when I said I'm doing a film festival in Los Angeles in Huntington Beach,
Yeah.
the beginning of June, where Night of the Comet is being featured. And they've got Kelly Maroney, they have me, they have Ivan Roth, who played the evil kind
Ooh.
of box boy. Do you remember
Yeah.
him?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
And Tom Eberhardt's going to be there.
Nice.
Arthur Albert, the DP, and
Yeah.
Andy Lane, the producer. They're all going to be there. So
Well, how
I haven't
fun.
seen I haven't seen them for a long time. I've been in touch with Tom more recently. Um, he's so hilarious. He's great. And Kelly and I are still very close. We're
Yeah.
we're in touch all the time. So yeah, yeah.
Well,
So
how
that'll be really
great.
fun. It'll be really fun to
Yeah,
see
that's
everything.
that's such a you do all the cult movies. I mean, that is a cult movie. It's got such a
Yeah.
following. I think it got as the years went on, it got more and more popular.
Yeah, it really these movies, these little movies that I kind of did back in the 80s that I didn't really think a lot about after the fact. All of a sudden, they're everybody seems to love them.
Yeah.
It's like the people that saw them, the kids that saw them back in the 80s are now parents themselves,
Yeah.
and they have such fond memories. I feel like these
We're
are the
passing
kind
them
of
down.
they're passing them down. But you know
Yeah.
how when you sort of go to the first movie that you've ever been to, maybe by yourself, that your parents let you go to the Last
Yeah.
Starfighter, and it's not Bambi, and it's not
Right.
anything too adult. It's something perfect for a first kind of movie experience alone. And I really feel like those are pivotal moments for people,
Yeah.
and so they stick with you. That's my theory anyway. And a
I think
lot of these
that's a
movies,
terrific theory.
yeah, and a lot of these movies also were on very big on VHS back in the day. So
Yeah.
they acted like babysitters for a lot of people.
Yeah.
That kids that would come home from school and maybe the parents were working, they just put in the Night of the Comet VHS or the Last Starfighter VHS, right? So yeah, I'm
I ran or owned comic book stores back in the early 90s, mid 90s, and we rented movies. We had VHS movies, and Last Starfighter, Night of the Comet, two of the most popular movies. Because we didn't have like a wide selection. It was only the nerdy stuff. And they were always getting asked for because everybody loved them.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, for
Yeah.
good
Do you
reason, I'd say.
remember what your first movie by yourself was?
That I saw by myself.
Yeah.
Um, well, I remember going to King Kong with
Oh,
my brother. So that was
yeah.
without parents.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that counts.
Yeah, which was great. I loved every second of it. So that was probably about the first movie that I went
That's
to.
a good
Well,
one.
without parents. Yeah.
Yeah, without parents. I think mine was Clash of the Titans,
Okay.
the original one. The first one
Wow.
that I got to go just by myself because I remember there's a brief nude scene in it. And I was sitting by myself, and I just remember getting really nervous that somebody was going to be like, "Hey, what's this kid doing in here?" Grown up movie.
Were you literally by yourself?
I
Because
was by myself.
wow.
I think
Yeah,
it was one of those, like it was in a mall, and maybe my
Mhm.
mother was shopping and let me go to the movie while she was
Okay,
shopping.
gotcha.
It was a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
deal
yeah.
for me.
Yeah, a really big deal. I mean, I don't mind going to the movies by myself at all anymore, but I think back when I was a kid, I probably never went by
Yeah,
completely alone. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah. It was a rare occurrence back then.
Right,
Usually we traveled in packs, so there was a gang of us, but
right.
there was a few. There was a few.
Yeah, yeah.
So you have done. I wanted to bring this one up because my daughter said I had to because I
Okay.
hadn't seen them. She has, so she watches all the Christmas movies.
Oh,
So you've done a
okay.
couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was asked. I always go around to the kids and quiz them to see if they what they know you from with that.
Mm-hmm.
And Brett, he's seen your movies because I watched those with him, so he's seen them, so he knew. But I asked my daughter, she didn't recognize any of those. But then when I showed her your picture, she's like, oh, and named off Christmas movies that you have been in because she watches all the Christmas movies.
Okay, good.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was her question: was when can we expect more Christmas movies from you?
Oh, yeah, they've become so popular on
So
television,
popular.
right? The Hallmark thing. I mean, they have a
Yeah.
whole season. I've done like the last Christmas movie I did was called Rock and Roll Christmas.
That's the one she mentioned. Yeah, she mentioned that
Okay.
one. There was one more that she mentioned. I thought I wrote it down, but maybe Nutcracker
A
Christmas.
Nutcracker Christmas,
Yeah.
which was really fun for me because it was sort of around dancing, and
Oh, nice. Yeah, of course.
it was shot in Canada using the I think the Royal Canadian Ballet or something like that. But one of the big national ballet companies were sort of in the background with that, so that was very very cool to watch. Just to be a part of it felt like you know when they were rehearsing and things like that in the studio, all the bags with the shoes and the warm-ups, and I just felt like I was home again. um, I didn't play a dancer in it, but yeah, that was really fun to just be a part of
Yeah.
and just experience that. And then a Rock and Roll Christmas, I got to be on stage singing with the story revolves around a mother-daughter
Nice.
singing duo. So I got to be on stage singing, which was really super fun.
Yeah, that's pretty great. That's pretty
Yeah.
great. So I know we got to wrap up. I mentioned briefly Mischief. I love
Mhm.
seeing you in that. I think your character was named like Bunny. Does that
It
sound
was
right?
Bunny. It
Bunny,
was.
yeah.
It was
Yeah,
Bunny.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And of course, Kelly Preston Travolta was in that, and that was awful
Mhm.
that we lost her. She was such a good actress, but
Yeah, that was one of her first movies. It might not have been
yeah,
her first, but
it was
very
early.
close. It was very early, and she was just a lovely, lovely human being. She wasn't easy, I've actually kept in touch with Doug McKeon and Chris Nash,
Yeah.
who were in that as well. We see each other when I'm in LA, although Chris just moved to Nashville or something. He's an incredible musician. He kind of put acting to the side and
Yeah.
really pursued his music, and he's just a wonderful musician. At any rate, but Kelly Preston was just a lovely person. She was funny. She's everything that she presents herself as.
Right.
Just super sweet and really kind and really funny and just a lovely human being.
Yeah.
And I thought she was really great in the movie. And I wish that I'd been able to keep in touch with her, is my point, I guess. But she sort of skyrocketed
Yeah,
in
it's a
her
little different
career.
level
And
with
right,
the
right.
Travoltas.
And the Travoltas are not as easy to get to as me, as a for instance. I'm pretty easy to get to.
You thankfully you were, and I really appreciated that because that was a
Uh,
big one for me. I was like, ooh,
oh,
that's a
thank
big
you.
deal.
Well, I watched, like I said, I watched some of your podcasts, and you seem like just a lovely human being.
Oh, thank
Very, very
you.
sweet. So
Well,
definitely made me want to do it.
I'm so glad you did. Thank you so much for taking a little bit of time with me. This has been great. Oh, what next time we'll get you and Lance right
I know.
before the new Last Starfighter.
Wouldn't that be fun?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, you could
I'm
be the
just putting it out there
first
because
in.
I want to make it happen. So I'm just putting
I
it
know. Yeah, throw it out there. Put it out there into the universe and see what happens.
so,
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
oh, it'd be
Well,
great.
let's keep our fingers
That's
crossed.
fingers crossed. That's
Maybe the pandemic has put things on hold a little bit as well. So as far as I know, it's still alive and kicking. So we'll see what happens.
I know. I'm crossing my fingers. I keep looking for it, and every once in a while, I've seen some concept art and different things
Hmm.
come out. So
Hmm.
I guess it's out there floating around somewhere.
I think it's still out there kicking around. Yeah. All of a sudden it'll just be the tsunami of Last
That's right.
Starfighter.
Yeah, and it'll be
Just going.
big when it comes out. It'll be pretty big as far as
Yeah.
fan base. It's one of those easy ones. It's already got the fan base out there. There's no bigger fan base than guys my age. That's what I mean.
That's
We're just waiting.
right. Yes, I know. I get that all the time. People are so excited. So I know that when it does come out, there'll be a lot of people very excited to see it.
Yeah,
And I hope that they do it justice. I hope there's still sort of a nice tone of intimacy and
yeah.
reality in there. I hope it doesn't explode too much into the future and special effects and
No,
all
no,
that
no.
other
They got
stuff.
to still keep that kind of sweet, pretty, family friendly, just fun atmosphere where oh
Inspirational.
yeah,
Yeah,
inspiration where people could still see themselves
exactly.
in the
I think
role
that's
or that
key.
happening too. That's
I
not
think
easy,
that's
but
key. No, it's
I
not.
know they can
Yeah,
do it.
I do too. I have faith. And the right people are involved. It's not like it was
Yeah,
being passed off to a different writer altogether or something like
yeah,
that. So I'm really excited to see what happens with it
yeah.
for
Me
sure.
too. Me too.
Yeah, yay.
Yay! Well, Catherine, thank you so much. Before you go, is there anything that you have upcoming that we haven't touched on that we can kind of keep an eye out for you in?
Well, I actually have a role in a movie that I'm doing at the end of the month, but I can't
Oh,
really talk about that too much. I mean, I've been very, very busy during the pandemic. I've
yeah.
been working on a script with a partner of mine that has been optioned actually, and
Oh,
so
that's
we've been working.
exciting.
Yeah, so we've been working really hard on that. That's been taking up a
What's
lot
the
of my time.
genre?
Um, it's what's the genre? It's a drama. It's a mother daughter. You know, they have been separated for a long time, and they're trying to navigate their relationship and come back together. And they both, like, the mother lives in Chicago, the daughter lives in LA. She's a really powerful influencer. And the mother is this really high-powered finance person, and
Ooh.
they're brought together by a common circumstance, and they end up sort of going on a road trip together, being forced together in a car, and just trying to um,
That actually sounds
navigate their relationship as well as the road trip.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. Now you have to come back. Now, when that
Yes.
gets ready to come out,
Right.
you got to come
Yeah,
back.
we'll see what happens with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been doing some other stuff similar to that too. I have a play that I'm going to direct this one that I just mentioned, and I have a play also that I've been we've done a couple of table readings for that I also am going to direct. So, that kind of thing. I'm trying to get more into the directing.
Have you done directing in the past?
I have. I directed a short film that I wrote and produced.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, a friend of mine who's doing a little short asked me to be sort of a co-director in it as well. So, yeah, I'm slowly, again, you put it out in the universe.
That's right.
You better be prepared for what comes back. But that's what I've been throwing out there for a while now. So things are starting to come to fruition. So I'm very, very excited about that.
That is exciting. Well, terrific. Yeah, that gives us lots to kind of keep an eye out for, and a movie that we can kind of that you can't talk about, but we can.
Yeah, it's hard to talk about stuff that you haven't done yet, or it's all.
Yeah, you gotta wait till you're allowed.
I know, but interestingly enough, it is kind of dance based. Although again, I do a little bit of dancing in there, but yeah, there's a real dance theme to it. So I'm.
Now that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Do you or did you, when you were growing up, do you play an instrument?
I played the piano.
Oh, very
nice.
I
did a bunch of years on the piano, which I really, really enjoyed. I love music, and I kind of wish I'd kept it up, but I sort of threw that on my daughter. She took piano lessons and really liked it, and so we got her this nice Steinway, upright.
Yeah, nice.
But we said, if we buy this for you, you have to take lessons, forever, for the rest of your life.
That's right. You got to play.
You've got to play, and she did. And she played all the way through. She played for, I don't know, 6 or 8 years and did very, very well. She's now in a different direction, but she got herself a keyboard recently because she really misses playing. So I'm thrilled about that. Yeah, it's sweet.
That's great. Well, that's terrific. Well, last thing before you go, where can we find you on social media?
Yes. So I'm on Facebook, Catherine Mary Stewart. Twitter, my handle is CMSALL, at CMSALL. I would have done Catherine Mary Stewart, but it was too long. You couldn't have that long handle. So CMSALL. And I'm on Instagram at Catherine Mary Stewart. How many are there? I don't do TikTok.
So many.
There's so
me
many.
neither. I can't figure the TikTok out. I've looked at it a little bit. It's intimidating. Like I was not ready for that.
It's fun. It's fun to watch, but I don't have enough hours in the day to sit down and do that stuff. I mean, I'll do the occasional Facebook Live, which is really super fun.
Yeah, that's fun.
It's too much of a commitment for me, this TikTok thing. But boy, oh boy, it's blown out of the water, hasn't it?
I know. I leave that one to Brett. He does TikTok.
Right. He does. Yeah.
He's the only one I watch, or subscribe to. That's it. Mm-hmm. So I'll go on there and kind of randomly watch people, but he's the only one that I actually subscribe.
And you could also, by the way, just thinking about it, I'm also on. If you go to imdb.com, you can see all the work that I've done.
Yeah, for sure. You're definitely on there.
Yeah, and I have a website which is kind of down at the moment. We're still sort of rebuilding it at the moment, but it's CatherineMaryStewart.com.
Yeah.
And and also if anybody's interested out there, if you haven't heard of it, it's Cameo.com.
Oh yeah, we love Cameo.
So I'm on that as well, and that's also super fun. You get requests from people to, send a video to a loved one or themselves or whatever, and it can really be about anything. I really get a kick out of doing those. They're really fun.
Yeah, I don't know who came up with that, but that is the best idea.
Especially, I mean, the timing couldn't have been better, could it
Right?
have? The pandemic, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a great concept. Um, People love it. They're so appreciative of it, and you
Yeah.
feel like you're connecting a little bit with people one on one. Yeah.
Well, and as a fan, that's all we want. You know,
Mm.
you just want that little, few seconds of connection with the people that you really enjoy watching. So
Right,
I
right.
love it. I love that whole idea. I know that Brett, he uses it and gets people for his mother, and
Hmm.
that she likes, and he'll do that for birthdays and things, or Mother's Day,
Yeah,
and there's somebody, a message from that. So it's pretty cool.
it's really fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Well,
People come up with
Catherine,
all
thank
sorts
you
of ideas.
so
Yeah. Go
much.
ahead.
This has been the best. The best.
My pleasure. You lived up to all my expectations. You're the
Oh,
nicest podcaster ever.
thank you so much. Yes, yes. Tell everybody.
I will. It's been really fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, this has been great. Thank you so much. Okay, hold on one second. Let me hit
Okay.
pause. Catherine Mary Stewart. Wow, that was so much fun. Oh my gosh, such a fan of hers, and you probably couldn't tell, but I was holding back. I didn't want to wear her out with my knowledge of every single thing that she's ever been in, but I could have. I could have brought up Knight Rider. I could have brought up the fact that she was in Alfred Hitchcock Presents and The Outer Limits. I could have brought all that up, but I didn't. I held back. But such a fan of hers, and she's so nice, and she was just terrific. Before, when we were setting up the interview, she was wonderful. Before we started the interview, she was so good on the interview. I'm so thankful to her that she came on the show, and I hope that you enjoyed that. We got just a ton of feedback. When I put out there that she was coming on the show, we got a lot of positive feedback from fans. Saying that they were really excited to see the episode. So hope you enjoy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again this week. Really appreciate that. Don't take it for granted. If you haven't done so yet, if you could go to YouTube under MeisterCon Pod and give us a little like and a subscription, we'd really appreciate that. You can find all of our episodes on meistercon.com. There's about 250 of them now. There's a blog from Brett that is terrific. He's such a talented writer, so check that out. We'll be posting soon about different conventions and shows as they start to come up that we'll be attending as press, so you can find out what we're doing there as well. Thank you guys, and until next time, bye.